This is definitely exciting. A cruise at the bottom of the world. A 4-hour flight from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia. And here we are. Unfortunately, the plane was an hour and a half late, so we were unable to tour. We just had to go straight to the cruise ship, Australis. This, of course, is midsummer, and I don't think you're going to suffer from sunstroke here. In fact, the Argentine government does not levy income tax on those that live here to encourage people to come and stay. Before we set off, there's the captain's cocktail party, which is welcome after our trip today. And here we see the lighthouse as we depart from Ushuaia. And the weather looks a little forbidding. Our overnight sail takes us down through the Bahia Nassau to Cape Horn. And before we go any further, we should introduce the ship. We're in cabin 413, next to the Sky Lounge, which is good, and not far from the bridge, but a long way down to the dining room.
Now what?
Right.
Cuckoo.
Our cabin, large double bed. That's about it.
Small double bed. Small king size.
Big window. Our cabin was perfectly comfortable, but the bed was a little small. But right next to us was the Sky Lounge, and drink was free. And then way down below on deck 1 was the dining room. On our table were Palinka and Rainer from Germany, Hamburg, Hi and Jeff from Key West in Florida, and Jane and Clive from Red Hill, Surrey. Day 1, and we're up at 6 a.m. getting dressed best we can for Cape Horn. And of course we have to have life jackets, which we seem to wear a lot of the time. On the back of the boat are the Zodiacs, which are going to take us to the shore, which were pretty hard to get in and out of. Getting ready to go on the deck, and here's the first boat setting off. The sea was very luckily quite calm, as you will see. And here we are on our Zodiac. Happy, having managed to get into it without falling into the sea. It was quite cold, and the Zodiac operators were extremely competent all through the trip and sat on the engine to control the boat. Some of the crew had to stand in the water for hours holding the boats in, and then we had the long climb up to the platform. Almost like going up Mount Everest. To our right, there was a railway line no longer used because they now bring supplies in by helicopter, but at one time all the supplies came up on the railway. Halfway up there was a shrine, time for a breather and a prayer, and look back at the boat sitting in the bay in the flat calm sea. More Zodiacs bringing passengers from the ship, and they hold 14 each. As it's midsummer, there is some flora and fauna around, in spite of the cold weather, and at the top of the steps there is a sign telling us we've come to the right place with a lighthouse in the background. And then we go up this quite a long walkway to a junction, which you can see two people at the top there. If you go to the right at the junction, you go to the viewing platform, which we did not. And if you go to the left, you go to the lighthouse, the shop, and the chapel. Cape Horn is, of course, part of Chile and not the Argentine, so the Chilean flag is flying. The lighthouse, which has a shop and houses the lighthouse keeper and his family, and it must be a very lonely existence. And these are the steps that go up to the lighthouse, which I didn't go up, and that, I think, was an elevator at one point, built in 1902. Here's the book which we signed to say we've been there. It was extremely windy up there, and you were blown off your feet. And I think that 157 means the number of steps we had to climb to get up from where the Zodiacs were. Enjoying the good weather and walking back down to the boat. Look at the landing area, and as soon as we got back to the boat, a big squall came up and the whole weather scene changed. We retraced our steps from Cape Horn back up to Walaya Bay that we passed in the night. We were allowed a 10-minute visit to the bridge just to see that things did work. And it was raining now.
So we are right in Riverside City, Southern Central.
But the navigator was hard at work in making sure we were going the right way, not down to the Antarctic. Walaya Cove was the home to the Yaghan people, of which there is one left, and she's 85 years old, and when she dies, that's it. In the background is a house, which was a radio station at one time, and we're allowed to leave our life jackets for a walk into the hills. It's a very pretty area, but I remind you that it's summer. And we go for a walk up a hill, and I don't know how this lady managed with her 2 sticks, but she did. Whereas we turned back about 2/3 of the way and meandered back down the way we came to the dock. The good news about finishing these excursions was we got a cup of hot chocolate and a shot of Johnny Walker Red Label.
It's now February the 11th, and we are in the Beagle Channel. The bay does not look very promising. It's grey. Temperature's 4 degrees, and it's raining. But good news, sea is flat calm.
The Beagle Channel is named after Darwin's boat, and we're off to the Pierre Glacier. There was some ice in the water, but we never saw an iceberg, and the guides were just excellent, all of them.
Beagle Channel, south till Cape Horn, this was the territory of the Yagana or Yamanes. Remember, just the Walaya, that was
Come back the same way.
capital
Yes,
or the
but
center
you
of the
can't
territory.
come back by your own.
Everything
Okay, you
happened.
have to tell
It
me.
was a New York.
Een ondertje is 15 kilometer binnen.
As it was explained, the white ice is more compressed, and the darker ice is got more sediment in it.
It doesn't mean this plant will heal this one. Okay, you just need a place where to sit, and it will.
The lady guide who was bending over was excellent. She pushed and shoved us up a very steep, slippery slope so we could get a view of the glacier when we got to the top. And there it is. Not me, the glacier. Back down the slippery slope, it was time for another Johnny Walker with some chocolate. I was beginning to like these excursions.
Alright, Johnny Walker, there you go.
And the Zodiac drivers had to negotiate their way around the ice floes.
Little glacier, which has never really formed. It has a valley behind it.
Our portable jetty, and we're off back to the ship to set off for the Garibaldi Glacier.
Looks like solid ice in front of it.
There was no embarkation point at the Garibaldi Glacier, so the captain went as close as he could so we could get pictures.
Tiny iceberg. You can even see the sheeting rain.
Now comes the testing part of the sail, as overnight we go outside to leave the islands, and at dinner and just after dinner, and for a while it was very rough. However, by next morning it was calm again, and every morning they just explained to us how to get on and off the Zodiacs. One step here, one step there, then sit down and slide your bottom down to the end. Again, we did not disembark, but sat on the Zodiacs for about an hour. Very cold and very wet.
As you may notice, in these days we do not have that much of our sunny days. So,
but it is a colony of terns, and there were literally thousands of them flying around and sitting on all the spaces you could possibly find on the rock.
and also the feeding of the little ones to the glacier. Sometimes we stay very far away because the pieces of ice from the and I can confirm it's an exception.
A selfie just to show we're still happy in spite of the conditions, and now a glimpse of the Piloto Glacier.
Yes. In the case of the
Back to the ship and off to the Aquila Glacier. Don't know, there's a lot of sun, and there are our electronic instructions for the next day. And we land on a rocky beach, and our guide explains the various plants and bushes that are around.
Have you heard about the Notophagus trees? This one.
Including these daisies.
This one, for example, is the Notophagus betuloides or coigue, evergreen beech.
As we round the end of the beach into the wind, we see the glacier, which is probably the most impressive that we've seen, partly I guess because the sun came out. The sand spit in the distance is where we're making for, and we can't get too close in case the glacier throws off a rock or two and hits us. Our friends Hi and Jeff from Key West.
You can see where we came from. Right over there.
At the top of the picture is where we came from, around that corner.
Here he is. Come here.
After more, Johnny Walker Red Label, the last view of the glacier from our Zodiac as we go to board the boat. Back to the bad weather, and it's off again to go to Magdalena Island.